Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's jump straight into it. Firstly, I'm a little bit behind because I had a work thing this week, but give us your thoughts and feelings on the match the other day. Finally had the chance to watch the full 90 minutes. I only like to give my feelings and thoughts on matches that I fully watched because I think the highlights sometimes can be deceptive, and I just think it's the right way to do it. It was again another step in the right direction for me. I thought there was some good performances. Still need work. We're still not by any means the finished article. I'd love to see us get a little bit better on the ball, building out from like goal kicks and stuff, but there were some really good moves where actually we started to get a little bit better at that as well. That's my biggest bugbear, I think, with the team is our ability to play through a press. But there were some good moments where we had some really nice one-touch football in the midfield, and then we were, just a little bit laboured, I think, in the final pass, or a little bit unlucky where a few of the through balls were either offside or been intercepted as well. So there were some signs regarding that, but I'd like to see us get a little bit better at doing that. But hopefully that will come the more as this season goes, because we're going to have plenty of time to train. So hopefully we can get a little bit better at doing that. But the pressing, the fitness levels, the attitude, the press, the work rate, the physicality as well. Let's not forget that was effectively the same team pretty much that lost the Europa League final, and it was a completely night and day performance, wasn't it? So the players are clearly on board. They're buying into what's going on. Amram's clearly doing his job, effectively coaching the team, getting them to know the system. And like I said, they seem faster, fitter, sharper. Like they look like completely different players, some of them as well, and fair play. And yes, it's pre-season. I'm not going to get too, giddy about a good performance and a result, just as I'm not going to get too bent out of shape if we lose or anything. It's just about getting minutes in the legs and, sharpening up a few things and working on the tactics and stuff. But I thought really positive signs. I thought, Bournemouth played us off the park in games last season. I felt they couldn't even, muster a few passes together because of our pressing and stuff was so good. But standout performances for me, obviously Patrick Dorgu, excellent. Again, he's been a standout performer so far pre-season. Lenny Yoro just oozes class, doesn't he? He's a quality player, Lenny Yoro. What an absolute player. He is. I thought Rasmus actually looked okay as well. There was some, not just for the goals, but I thought the movement for his first goal, because I'm critical of Hojlund, not because of the goals he scores, right? Because I get the argument that he doesn't get chances created for him. But my counter argument to that has been, well, is he in the right position, though, to have a chance created for him? And the movement on his first goal is really good. He went behind the defender, then ran in front of him as well. Good movement. But there were still other times in the game where I felt his movement was a little bit lacking in the box as well. But I thought Ahmad was good all over the place as well. Mount actually had a decent game as well. So I thought overall, positive. Positive signs, positive steps, step in the right direction. Again, building on the the performance before his as well, and that's all you can ask for. It's just, can we do it now, week in, week out? That's the key, isn't it? To maintain this level and keep developing and growing, because you can see, they're starting to get it, starting to understand, starting to get it. And more importantly, though, I think it's the physicality, the work rate, and the team effort is there for everyone to see. So again, positive signs. Not going to get too excited about it, because we're still a work in progress. There were times when I thought our passing was a bit woeful and bits as well. But overall, decent step in the right direction, all positive in my opinion. But give us your thoughts and feelings on the game in the comments below. Now let's go through all the latest transfer news. So obviously the talk of the town, Benjamin Šeško. We've over the last few days, obviously we know we want a striker. We've then had the Watkins and Sesko battle almost in the media. Now it looks like we're all in for Benjamin Šeško. So let's go through all the latest there. So it remains possible for Manchester United to fund a move for Benjamin Šeško without having to sell Rasmus Hojlund. The club could even complete the Sesko deal before making any sales, provided it is done ahead of next year's PSR, Profit and Sustainability Rules deadline. So that came from Laurie Whitwell, suggesting that it remains possible to fund a move we can fund Benjamin Šeško without having to sell players, basically, as long as we do get some exits done before the financial football year ends at the end of June next year. So there could be, that's what effectively we could be gambling, saying, okay, well, we're going to buy Sesko under the assumption that we are going to sell Sancho, Garnacho, or somebody, even if it's in January, in order to get the money in to recoup it. So that's effectively what I think Laurie Whitwell's saying there, reading between the lines. Yeah, interesting. And the Fabrizio Romano said that Benjamin Šeško is really open to joining Manchester United, even without European football and without Champions League football. Šeško is really open to the conversation with United. Now the conversation between Šeško and United is of the project, the vision, and what they want to do. It's not only the financial details. United are talking to RB Leipzig and the player's agent, but also the project. United are entering the details of the vision they have for Šeško, and the player is open to the move. Interesting from Romano. United feel like the player is open to the conversation to discuss about the project and the vision. Šeško and Man United is something that's absolutely concrete. Now, he did also go on to say, in fairness, that Newcastle is still in the equation. They're ready to go with a bid. He's saying that they've got, they're ready to go with personal terms. They're ready to go and bid and pay RB Leipzig what they want, essentially, for Benjamin Šeško. I think United are trying to sell the idea of coming to United as Sesko as a way for him to choose us, so that then we can start our negotiations with RB Leipzig, maybe to try and get a cheaper deal or a better payment terms, maybe player exchange. Romano was saying about player exchange as well and all that stuff, but we need the players' buy-in in order to do that. At the time of recording this video, which is 8:30 in the morning, we still no decision yet from Benjamin Šeško. But I think that's what United are trying to do. We're selling him the idea, selling him the dream, basically, to say, look, come to United, be our focal striker for our Project 28, which is where I think they've pivoted to, where they've looked at it and said, well, actually, with the players that we've got so far with Mbeumo, Cunha, the fact the rest of the squad look like they're improving as well, is it the right thing to do to buy a 29-year-old Ollie Watkins for £60 million when we're not quite ready to win a title or challenge at this moment in time? Or do we get the striker that we think is going to be ready in 2 or 3 years' time? And that's why I think they've done the pivot for Benjamin Šeško. But that's really interesting. But according to Romano, concrete, we're definitely in for definitely in for Sesko. That's clear. Ben Jacobs said that Manchester United are now favourites to sign Benjamin Šeško with a realistic chance the deal gets completed. And then Romano's in another video, loves it, doesn't he? Talking about it, saying that Manchester United in the recent hours today, their directors made direct contact with RB Leipzig to inform them that they are prepared to bid for Benjamin Šeško. Now, again, he is still saying Newcastle are in the race, so there's no clear indication at the time of recording which way Benjamin Šeško is going to go. The main reports, though, are actually saying United are favourites, but I don't like that. I don't like when those reports come out, because you get your hopes up and then you get, sometimes you get disappointed in life with these things. So I'll still reserve a little bit of judgment around that until we know for sure which way he's going to go. I think it is in my head anyway, I'm still like, well, this is a 50-50 split between us and Newcastle for Sesko. But yeah, really interesting. What are your thoughts? Reading your comments yesterday as well. I know some of you, maybe coming to terms with the idea, who were like me, a little bit, unsure. I know some of you wanted him anyway in the first place when we've been talking about strikers this year as well. So give us your thoughts and feelings on Benjamin Šeško. I think if he chooses us, then we'll open up the negotiations and we'll maybe try and get a deal done. Remember, Romano's been saying about a gentleman's agreement for a special club where we can get a reduced price potentially if he decides that we're the special club that he wants to come to. Talk of player exchanges, all that stuff as well. But yeah, it's getting Romano did say he's still taking his time to decide, but not too long. So hopefully we'll hear something over the next few days regarding it. But yeah, give us your shouts on Benjamin Šeško in the comments. Now, we're still getting linked to alternative strikers. Santi, who's decent, said that Manchester United are monitoring the situation of Randall Kolo Muani. So I think that's good, because if we don't get Sesko and we don't want to pay the asking price for Ollie Watkins, potentially we still might be going in. We still might need a striker. So does someone like Muani, maybe on loan, just as a stopgap signing or a cheap signing, potentially could be one that we're monitoring. So I think we are potentially still looking at alternatives. should the Sesko deal not go through. Another one could be Nick Woltemade. Now, this came from the Sun, so instantly we have to take it with a pinch of salt. I actually thought he went to Bayern Munich. What happened there? I've not followed any of that news. I saw like quite early in the transfer window that Bayern Munich had gone for Woltemade, and I just instantly assumed that he'd gone there because Bayern Munich generally hoover up the best talents from the Bundesliga. So interesting if he's still available. But the report says Manchester United have also Nick Woltemade on their shortlist of strikers. They will move for him if the Sesko deal becomes impossible due to financial reasons. Stuttgart want £40 million for him, so that could be potentially one, even though it came from the Sun. Not a bad shout, actually, in my opinion, to go for. He's a bit younger, a little bit rawer, a little bit more inexperienced, I would say, than Benjamin Šeško. Had a good under 21 euro, though. Does look like a really, really good player as well. He's another tall, skillful sort of striker. Wouldn't be the worst idea. Cheaper than Sesko as well, but came from the Sun, so take it with a pinch of salt. I will keep my eyes on it for you. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, interestingly, the other player we've been heavily linked with over the last few days is Donnarumma. That noise is not going anywhere. So, discussions for Gigi Donnarumma's potential move to Manchester United are active and progressing. Claims that the transfer is off the table are false. Now, that came from Jan Fjortov, who actually is fairly decent. Did break some stories regarding Sesko to United before Romano and bits as well. So I don't know what to say on that. I've always felt the Donnarumma stuff is just clickbait or agent talk or using United to get views and stuff. But that's a fairly decent journalist that's saying that that United are active and progressing, and a transfer could be on the table. Sky also said the same thing. United are interested in Paris Saint-Germain goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. However, so in the last couple of days, another French journalist who works for some good French outlets as well, saying that Manchester United have inquired about Donnarumma's situation with PSG, but unless there's a major downsizing, United aren't expect to pursue this matter. So I think what they're meaning there, unless he takes a pay cut or maybe the asking price drops, it's not necessarily a plausible deal for ourselves. Romano was saying that he's not heard anything of any negotiations as well. He's maintaining that he's not heard any concrete talks or anything like that. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we're not interested, because in the last couple of days, we've had Jan Fjortov say United are in talks with him. Fabrice Hawkins and Sky saying that United are interested. James Ducker said that we've inquired about him and PSG expect us to go back in for him. But then we've had Romano and Ben Jacobs saying nothing, no talks ongoing and nothing concrete. So that becomes a case of who do you believe? And out of all those, it's Romano, isn't it? Let's be fair. He's one of the best transfer journalists around. So you put your hat on Romano being accurate when it comes to that. But yeah, what a weird situation where we're constantly getting these links. And there is no smoke without fire. Maybe we've made an inquiry, or maybe the agents come to us and it's being blown out of proportion by some of the other journalists, and it's not quite as, cut and dry as, remember when we had the Ekatike news and it was like United are in talks, and literally it came out a few days later, they're like, yeah, they just made an inquiry and asked for the asking price, and that's all it was. So maybe there's something like that with Donnarumma, and it's being blown out of proportion because, like I said, you go with Romano on that news, wouldn't you, personally? But yeah, interesting. I'll keep my eye on it for you. It would be a great shout, though, Donnarumma. It's just the wage, isn't it? It's the wage that would be the problem. Interesting, though, if we did get in another goalkeeper, Chris Wheeler said that if United sign a new goalkeeper, it seems very unlikely that Onana would stay as number 2. He would want to be first choice at another club. So is that on the table then for United to buy a player, goalkeeper, and then force Onana out? I think we're leaving it late in the window, though, to do that. Personally, that's the sort of move I think you need to make earlier in the transfer window. But there could be a flurry of activity in the next, is it 3 or 4 weeks before the transfer window closes? So there could be there's going to be a flurry of activity, I think, across the market, where teams get a bit desperate, or the exits they're waiting for materialise, because Chelsea actually have to sell to buy as well. So that's why they're not making moves. They're struggling to get Xavi Simons and Garnacho. There's an update on him in a second as well. So all clubs are in that sort of position, or a majority are anyway. But that would be interesting. But again, keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments. Just keeping with Onana, there's been a bit of an injury boost. So Lisandro Martinez, Joshua Zirkzee, and Andre Onana all back in light training at Manchester United's base in Chicago. So that again came from Chris Wheeler. That's positive, especially Joshua Zirkzee. I've been gutted that he's injured for pre-season because I really want to see how he develops because he looks lean. He looks, like I've seen all the clips. He looks like he's a really nice character behind the scenes as well, and one that I've got a few high hopes for this season as well. Joshua Zirkzee, was really interesting to see how his link up would be, with Cunha and Mbeumo up front. But I mean, not that we've seen Cunha and Mbeumo play together yet either. Hopefully this weekend there'll be the moment, be the one where we can see Mbeumo and Cunha play together, but we'll have to wait and see because it all depends on their fitness levels and stuff. But interestingly as well, or massive for us that Lisandro Martinez coming back as well, which is, a massive boost. You forget how good Martinez is. It's just obviously a worry that how good is he going to be after the injuries he's had over the last couple of seasons, because when he came back from his injury last year, was a bit rusty to start with, but then he started to get, better and better and better, and then we had the assist he got against City in the derby, and then before you know it, he's out again and gone. What a player Martinez is. So, but yeah, big boost I think to have Martinez, Zirkzee, and even Onana. I know some of you don't rate Onana, but I'd much rather Onana I think in goal than Bayinda for the first game of the season against Arsenal personally. But some of you will disagree with that, I am sure. Right, let's go through the exit talks. So, Manchester United internally recognise they may need to accept less than Rasmus Hojlund's book value of just under £45 million, with Dortmund also monitoring him. So Laurie Whitwell again coming out. It's the second time he's done a report like this where he's suggesting that actually if we do bring in Sesko, and what happens with Rasmus Hojlund, does he stay, does he go? Likelihood is that he's probably going to go, but we don't know that for sure. He's got his own opinion on that as well, which I'm going to bring you in a second. There's some direct quotes from Rasmus Hojlund, but also so Laurie Whitwell saying that if we do sell Hojlund, we're going to have to accept less than his book value, so it'll be like a PSR loss from us. But if we could subsidise that with some profit, i.e. from Garnacho, or even Malasia's book that's got no book value. So if we sell Malasia even for 5 million or something like that, that's technically goes down as profit because he hasn't got anything left on his book value as well. So and that would subsidise a potential loss that we would make on Rasmus Hojlund. Caught offside, interestingly, was saying Erik ten Hag is reportedly aiming to reunite with Rasmus Hojlund at Bayern Leverkusen this summer. However, he will have to fend off interest from several top clubs, including RB Leipzig, Eintracht Frankfurt, AC Milan, Inter, Napoli, and Juventus. So that came from Caught Offside. Ten Hag loves Bayern former players, doesn't he? He's tried already, I think, for Garnacho, but Garnacho wants to stay in the Premier League. There are reports that maybe Anthony, although I think Ten Hag's done a comment saying he's out of our sort of price range at the moment, but I'm sure he would love to come back in and take him. Do they need a goalkeeper? Who knows? But let's, but interest from Rasmus Hojlund there would be there. But again, I don't think they're the sort of clubs that would pay the £45 million. So going back to Laurie Whitwell's, it's probably true, isn't it? Or probably fairly accurate that these teams might want Rasmus Hojlund, but not at 45 million. But we'll see how it all plays out regarding that. Chris Wheeler, interestingly, the other said that Rasmus Hojlund is likely to leave Manchester United either through a permanent sale or a loan if a deal is reached for Benjamin Šeško. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens if we do get Sesko, what the future holds for Rasmus Hojlund. Him himself, though, when he had in a recent interview, had the following to say: "When I arrived, Martial was there. He had a lot of injuries, so I obviously had to play a lot. I always want to play, but obviously I could have used a bit of help to share the matches, especially at the beginning. But I feel like I've matured a lot and feel ready for what is ahead." And you do overlook that a bit with Rasmus Hojlund. He was absolutely thrown into the deep end. He was not ready, still isn't ready, I don't think, to lead the line for Manchester United. Needed that support, and that's a club fuck up, isn't it? That's a club fuck up for spending all of our money on Rasmus Hojlund, overpaying for him, in my opinion, and not bringing in somebody else. Like the sensible thing, and we're all geniuses in hindsight, right? Serhou Guirassy was available for £18 million, and I think we overpaid by Rasmus Hojlund by at least 30 million. So you could have got Guirassy and Hojlund probably for less than what we just paid for Hojlund for, and then that would have been the ideal scenario or something of that nature, because we were going for Harry Kane. that summer as well. But obviously, he didn't. Spurs didn't want to sell him to us. So, but you do overlook that with Hojlund. I do have a little bit of, a little bit of sympathy for, because he's been a victim of the circumstances, not just himself, but that's life, isn't it? Sometimes it works that way. And then on what happens if we do sign a new number one striker, he said, I think my plan is very clear, and that is for me to stay and fight for my spot, whatever happens. So, it's all very well and good, Hojlund being linked, but according to the player himself, he will still want to stay and fight for his place. The only way he wouldn't, though, is if the club tell him directly to go. If they sat him down and said, look, there's no place for you in the squad or the team, you're not going to get minutes and stuff, that would obviously force Rasmus Hojlund's hand. And whether they haven't obviously done that at the moment because we need the striker in. Whether they do that if we get Sesko, who knows? We'll have to see how that plays out. Now, let's keep with the exit news. So, Chelsea are currently standing firm on Alejandro Garnacho's proposal and proposing trades involving players they deem surplus, such as Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku. So, Laurie Whitwell saying, look, Chelsea still want Garnacho, but they still want to do a swap deal for players that they don't want. How's about jog on? The report yesterday was they value Garnacho at 30 million and Nicholas Jackson at 80 million. So, how can you then, in the next day, say, yeah, we want to do a swap deal as well? So that means you clearly value Garnacho at least on par with Nicholas Jackson. And I don't think, if anything, if we did an exchange, we should be getting cash plus Jackson, I think, for Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea. But we'll wait and see how that plays. But we don't want those players. Obviously, we get Sesko, we're not going to want to go for Jackson. And Nkunku's ones that's been debunked for ages, where we've no interest in him whatsoever, thankfully, because his injury record is horrific. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that. And then the Daily Telegraph was saying that Chelsea is set to submit a bid for Alejandro Garnacho before the transfer window closes. The club has no doubts about Garnacho's character, having completed thorough background checks. And Romano keeps saying, watch out for Chelsea and Garnacho, but they need to sell to buy. They're working on Xavi Simons, and so this is going to be one that gets done later on in the transfer window, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then the final one is Jadon Sancho. So Jadon Sancho is willing to halve his 16 million euro yearly Manchester United salary to join Borussia Dortmund, per talks with directors at Dortmund as well. So Sport Bild is saying that Jadon Sancho is willing to halve his salary to go back to Dortmund. And that's good as well, because if he's had that realization that actually, look, if you want to go and play football somewhere, and life's not all about money, happiness, and, he was obviously happy and clearly is happy playing at Dortmund and stuff as well. So maybe he's had that realization that actually, life's way more important than what your balance sheet says in your bank account, in my opinion. So maybe he has had that. We want about 20 million for him. I think Dortmund could do that if he's happy to accept a pay cut. Ben Jacobs said a similar thing as well, that Jadon Sancho is now prepared to lower his wage demands. His exit now is looking more feasible than a few weeks ago. So Sancho's had a bit of maybe a reality check with the offers that he's had coming in from other clubs, and realizing that actually the teams, even if they want to buy him, which clearly means that you're wanted by that club, don't value you at the value that you're getting at United as well. And it's that realization, isn't it? But hopefully, if he is now prepared to take a pay cut, we can finally see some movement on some exits as well. But again, we'll wait and see how that all plays out. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. I'm just checking to see if there's any more updates at the time of recording this video, because the news is coming out thick and fast at the moment as well. Let's have a little. Manchester United are very confident about securing a deal for Benjamin Šeško, with negotiations progressing positively with RB Leipzig. The striker has long been on United's radar, with the club closely monitoring his performances and staying in regular contact with his representatives. Ineos have now given the green light to move forward with the transfer. Now, that came from Christopher Michel, literally at the time of recording this video as well. And Christopher Michel is a very good German journalist, saying that United are very confident about securing a deal for Sesko. Negotiations are progressing positively, but then also Ineos have now given the green light to move forward with the transfer. That's a positive sign, in my opinion, because Christian Michel is actually a very decent German reporter, close to, obviously, the Bundesliga in the news there as well, suggesting Ineos have given the green light, and United are confident, basically, that it sounds like that we're Going through, what else has he had to say? Coach Ruben Amorim is still missing this puzzle piece for his 3-4-3 system. Sesko brings agility and dynamics to the team. So yeah, green light according to Christopher Michel for Benjamin Šeško. That's the latest news story I'm going to bring you. So give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your shouts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.